we released an exclusive story on our magazine, and I want to talk about it. And this was one of the things when we knew we were having a break, but I said, look, when we come back, the story we want to talk about is Alexander Sims and his move to Mahindra. Because when we did that interview back at the beginning of September, I was quite surprised with some of the answers that he gave. And I thought, well, and he has been. It was a really good feature in our magazine, which you can go and read if you haven't checked it out to sort of get the full picture of what Alexander Sims. We'll sort of summarize it here, but if you want the full picture, exactly what he said, exactly how it went down, the magazine is the place to go on the Formula Rezone website. But what I found really interesting from that move, Jack, was it had happened in lockdown. So we were all going, remember, we were doing Formula E shows here saying, what were you going to do with Alexander Sims? Should he stay at BMW? Should he move? Is BMW going to drop him? After the races and the live shows, we were like, oh, what can you do with Alexander Sims? The deal was already done. He was already at the building. It was basically just finish the season and look ahead towards Mahindra in season 7. Were you surprised that the deal was done during the main lockdown period and not like during Berlin?
Yeah, no, that did come as a big surprise for me. I would have thought he would have been pushed by BMW before he jumped, but good on Alexander Sims for actually jumping and looking elsewhere during lockdown as well. And yeah, no, I think he will fit in well at Mahindra. But yeah, I think he must be a big fan of our shows because we had touted it a little bit before that, and so yeah, who knows? Maybe our shows maybe convinced him that he did need to jump before he was pushed. I doubt it, but we live in hope. But yeah, no, it's going to be it's going to be a good relationship there. I can see Sims doing well at Mahindra, and that has opened the spot up at BMW. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, and the silly season has rolled on. There hasn't been any announcements since we've been away, but we are starting to see a few different people like either in the same places, definitely, or they are moving teams as well.
Yeah, that's what I think. Obviously, the moves for like Mahindra to second seat, which we were all expecting to be Alex Lynn, but it could be anyone else. And obviously, BMW yet to announce their drive. But it was really interesting is that he was in discussions with BMW, and I thought it was also interesting to say he has been in discussions with other teams prior, right? Whether it was Mahindra or maybe some other teams plus BMW. But he's had a chat with BMW. And BMW probably offered him a contract. And I think he says this in the magazine. He sort of was offered the contract, but he wasn't really happy with what he was being offered. And he said it wasn't to do with money. Money was not a thing. It was just about, career stability. So coming from that, Jack, I'm assuming, the BMW toxic environment, as people keep saying, of a rolling 1-year deal and that, what if, or we can just get rid of Alexander Sims or move on when we find someone suitable to get into that seat. Seemed like that was what BMW were going to play, and Alexander Sims was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want an actual team where I can stay, build a project, which he believes in Mahindra is a project with the technical partnerships that they've got now with ZF and stuff like that coming in, going into season 7 and beyond, that there's a team and a future that he can build rather than just racing every season just to save his seat.
Yeah, no, it does make sense for Alexander Sims. Yeah, if he wasn't happy with the BMW contract, he wasn't happy with the BMW contract, and I think he's found a very good seat in Mahindra. But yeah, that BMW seat. I mean, we've even seen Antonio Felix da Costa, our new champion. It turned out to be a fantastic move, but he left the BMW camp that he was in for so many years. He went from Red Bull to BMW, and he was in Red Bull for his junior career. He went to BMW for DTM, and then into Formula E as well. And then he decided to leave that after however many years, and then switched to DS Chichita, and it did work out for him in the end because he is our new champion. But yeah, it does seem to put a couple question marks on BMW. We've seen that they have the pace to do well every now and again, but we haven't really seen it consistently. Even when Da Costa was in the car last season, he got the win in Diriyah, and then he got another. I believe he finished second in Mexico City, and apart from that, there wasn't really much that Antonio Felix da Costa did, and we saw it this season with Max Gunter. The only time he scored points was he was on the podium, or he wasn't even in the points. And then Alexander Sims started well, but then fell away very quickly towards the end of the season. And so, yeah, still the BMW car is a massive option. I do think that many drivers should be going for that seat, but right now I don't actually see anyone who I'd want to put in that second seat. I thought Alexander Sims was a good fit. Oliver Turvey, we are 99% sure now is staying at Neo 333 for this season. But apart from that, there's no real person that you could put in there. There's been Philip Eng, there's been Lucas Sauer touted in and around, but apart from that, there hasn't really been much.
No, I was thinking with Oliver Turvey, obviously, could still go. I know when you say 99% certain, but I still think there's a little inkling. But I think BMW are, lending towards the Lucas Ayer, the Philip Eng sort of route and promoting within BMW. And Oliver Turvey, therefore, would stay with Neo, who would be his teammate for next season. Daniel Aptel marching well, still really undecided. We don't really know what the contract situation is there. But I want to pose this question to you, Jack. This is a question I want to pose to you. I don't think this, it's not just us. We're not saying that BMW has a toxic environment, but there are many other publications, and it seems from the outside that there is some form of something's not right. Why would Antonio Felix da Costa in the first place jump ship? Yes, Tech Cheetah are a really strong side, but effectively Antonio Felix da Costa, that was his team, right? So for him jumping into Jev's team, yes, conquering Jev's team and winning the championship, but we all went and thought, that's risky, right? He's going into Jev's camp. It's like risky how we're saying Sam Bird's going into Mitch Evans' camp. He's left his team. But for da Costa to leave BMW so early into BMW's ethos, but I don't think it's BMW. I think I'm going to point the finger, and I'm trying not to bite my nose to spite my face, whatever the saying is. But I have a feeling it's the American side of things. I have a feeling that the Andretti side of things, because let's think about IndyCar and how American sports work, and how, Michael Andretti is a stern customer. Jay Penske, we look at the Dragon operation, is a stern. If you're not performing, you're out the door, right? And you see that in American sports a lot, and in terms of an American business as well. If you're not performing, you're out the door. We'll get someone better in. And with that pressure potentially on the likes of Alexander Sims, if that pressure doesn't really gel with a driver, or they don't like that politics behind the team, maybe that makes sense, because Alexander Sims hasn't left BMW. He's left the team, but it's still part of the BMW, was driving in the Nürburgring 24 hours with BMW, so he's kept his BMW links happy. Did he just want to get out of the Andretti side of it, and maybe that's where the pressure is coming from?
It could be a possibility. I'm not sure. I know that you've had a couple run-ins with Andretti as well over the years as well. But less the said of that, the better. But yeah, no, I do see what you mean by the Andretti team being quite stern, because in IndyCar recently, they've got rid of Zach Veach for the rest of this season to put James Hinchcliffe, the multiple race winner, into that 26 car, and he's going to run it till the end of the season. And Zach hadn't. I mean, like the last few seasons I've been watching IndyCar, Zach hasn't been there or thereabout. Whilst we see Alex Rossi doing well all the time. Yes, Marco Andretti hasn't been there or thereabout, but he is a race winner in IndyCar. And yeah, even and Takuma Sato's first Indianapolis 500 win, that was with Andretti back in 2017. And so yeah, I do see possibly, if you're not doing amazingly well, you could get the dump. And as you said, with Dragon, we've seen that before. Jose Maria Lopez, who had a pretty decent season with Dragon in season 4, but didn't have a great one in season 5. And Max Gunter absolutely trounced him that season, and he was out, and Lopez was out the door as well. And we saw it with Brendan this year. Brendan didn't come back, even though he scored Dragon's only 2 points of the season. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't want to like point fingers and say yes, it's them, or yes, it's them who are at fault. But it's starting to become quite apparent that maybe something isn't right there.
No, I agreed. And I don't want to point fingers either. I don't want to point fingers. But when you think your main driver in Antonio Felix da Costa has jumped ship, then your other factory driver also jumps ships, but keeps his ties with the factory team. And when you have, we call it BMW, but it's not BMW. It's BMW Andretti. So there is another stakeholder in that team. And whether or not that could be a problem, there's like a mix of opinions. There's too many cooks that spoil the broth. All the nice catchphrases that you ever want to say. That might be causing that sort of toxic environment. And people, you got Roger Griffiths, who's a very good, but obviously gets on very well with Andretti as well. And he's quite stern, but, at the same time, when you've got his boss is still Michael Andretti, so, you've got a sort of, might not be the way he wants to work, but at the same time, he's got to please his boss. I don't know. It's just, when you see Michael Andretti, it's the same when you see Jay Penske, and it's like an authority figure, right? It's like, this is the big daddy, basically. But when you go and see Mark Preston, or when you go and see the owners of, the Virgin, the Envision line in Virgin, or Jaguar, for example, it doesn't, that sort of stern fence, that sort of thing isn't there. And I don't know if because of that, that's being transferred into the team, and that's just making it that toxic environment. It's pure speculation, and it has to be pure speculation, but there has to be a reason why a driver jumps but then stays with a manufacturer, and why a lead driver like Antonio Felix da Costa leaves basically his team, a team that he could have led to, maybe not this season, but next season, to a title push. And maybe with him leaving and obviously getting the title push this season, they maybe could have managed a title push this season. But because he's left, that sort of, new drivers coming in. If Antonio Felix da Costa was there, maybe BMW could have been a bit more consistent because he knows the team, he knows the car, blah, 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 blah. It's all speculation, I know. But I just think there could be something there. And I think you can't rule it out with what's been going on lately.